Welcome to the Worldview Financial Report. It is Monday evening, July 1st, 2024. Here we are, July 1st. This year is moving on. Joining me are my co-hosts, the Bad News Bears, also known as Wes Peters and Michael Weiner. What are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to talk about this right here. Act of 1997. On this day, 25 years ago, President Bill Clinton signed the Bipartisan Balanced Budget Act of 1997, which eliminated the national budget deficit. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we'll go to this one. Here we go. The coming U.S. budget disaster will impoverish Americans. And now you guys know why we call them the Bad News Bears. The BRICS, JP Morgan predicts huge U.S. stock market crash. It just keeps getting worse and worse, folks. The Bad News Bears have not disappointed today with the news they're bringing us. U.S. banks dumping exposure to a lot of money. What is that figure? That is, I'm guessing, $1 trillion? 1.7 billion, I guess. 1.7 billion? Is that what that is? No, that's got to be more than that, because that's a 2 there. I don't know. We'll get into that. I can't count it up live on the air. Inevitable losses hammer balance sheets report. And then finally, if the cost of groceries makes you feel sick, you're not alone. Joining me for our weekly update is none other than Wes Peters, our daily update. Wes Peters used to be weekly. Wes Peters and Michael Weiner. Hey guys, before we get started, I understand you two went on a date Friday night. How was that?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Really? Well, you guys, I heard you two went out to dinner. Isn't that what a dinner date? Isn't that what you call it?
It happens occasionally. Correct.
Yes, the company took a handful of us and spouses out to dinner for a dinner/wine tasting. And
so Michael Weiner was involved in wine tasting.
That's name abuse, really. That's name abuse, right?
And it's one of those dinners where they just bring you little portions, like, I don't know, what was there, Mike, like 5 courses, 4 courses, something like that.
Then I went home and ate.
You had to make a stop through Burger King on the way home, did you, Wes?
That's exactly what he kept saying. He's like, I need a burger. I need a burger. The staff's walking by. He's like, I'm starving.
So you were harassing the waiters all night. Was that right, Michael Weiner?
No, I was not. I was trying to figure out where the food was. And
you thought these were hors d'oeuvres, but this was actually the courses.
They brought the dessert, and I was going, "What happened to the main course?" I mean, I'm losing it here.
Well, that wouldn't be the.
But it was nice. It was nice.
Yeah. So did you two boys sit next to each other at the table?
Across.
We did actually.
Across from each other.
We brought your picture with us. You were there.
No, we were right next to each other.
You set up a picture of me on the table. Is that right, Michael?
That's correct. You drank a lot. You did.
That would be not true because I don't drink at all. So
there you go.
Maybe water, maybe hot tea, but no, I'm not an alcoholic consumer. But anywho, I would have certainly been willing to drive you home if you got inebriated, Mr. Weiner.
No, I was fine. Wes, on the other hand, is pretty gone.
He's a sloppy drunk.
True.
Are you, Wes?
I had you sign an NDA, Michael.
I'm going to jail. I said.
You're already violating it.
You're already violating the non-disclosure agreement. Okay.
I'm toast.
So did you accomplish a lot of business at this business dinner the company paid for?
No, hunger creates stupidity.
Really, what did you have? What did they serve you?
I don't know.
We had, I think it was a crab and lobster with mushrooms. It was really good. We had that, and we had a little piece of duck that was in like a square, but I guess it was duck. That was pretty good, but it was small. Again, just not big portions.
Like the portions were like
Smaller. Get your smaller.
Like a cube, like a quarter, like the size of a quarter, Michael.
Yes, I would say that.
Wow.
Correct.
Wow, Michael's gone off camera. He's got to grab something. There we go.
Water.
Mike can't sit still for 5 minutes.
No, the audience has figured out he has ADHD. They figured that a long time
Thank you
ago.
very much.
He doesn't sit for these interviews, so he bobs around like he's in a boxing match.
I went to college for a reason. You know.
What's that?
I knew I went to college for a reason, learning how to.
You don't sit when we do these interviews, do you? Because you're always bobbing.
I don't sit all day. I'm
Really?
very rarely.
You stand the whole day.
Pretty much.
I never sit either.
What's that, Wes?
I never sit either.
You don't. Yeah, right.
I'm rocking my chair.
Oh gosh. All right.
All right, let's get the show on the road.
How are the cats doing? What, Mike?
They were doing great. They were out. They were playing like field hockey with their gold coins. They have a lot of fun.
That's good. That's good. You know, my cat came and harassed me multiple times over the weekend to my office while I was working, and she tries to get in my lap while I'm trying to type and build PowerPoint for the weekend Sunday night program, and I got my Bible commentary spread everywhere, and she tries to lay down right in the center of the desk where I'm studying, and I petted her on the head and I asked her a very serious question, which was, if I die in this house, will you eat my head within 30 days? She just kind of looked down like she wasn't going to answer.
All I know is my cat had the hairball problem, as you know, and they decided in the middle of the evening, around 2 o'clock in the morning, to depart with that hairball on my legs, which definitely was an exciting point of the evening.
There
really.
you go. Well, there you go. Wes, aren't you glad you don't have cats, Wes?
Yes, I am.
All right.
That's an abuse of cats. Cats are wonderful animals. You know, they can destroy. They're just much smarter.
They're small tigers.
Much smarter than dogs. Really, they can climb a tree. Dog can't.
I don't know. Delta's not buying this. I had to lean over. She's there. All right, well, let's get to it. There we go. You two had a great date. It was a great date night, Friday night. Wes and Michael, glad it went well. Let's go to this first one. 25 years ago, President Clinton signed the Bipartisan Balanced Budget Act of 97. Why'd you put this in here, Wes?
Well, and actually that was August, so it's not 25 years ago today. This is an old video, just showing that, a lot of people don't realize, Brannon, that the last time we had a balanced budget was in 2001.
Okay, this is from August of 2022, so that you're bringing us almost 2 years old news, but that's all right.
Well, I just wanted to show that most people don't understand or realize we have not had a balanced budget since 2000.
But the law requires they have it, right?
I'm sorry?
The law requires it, right?
Well, it's supposed to, absolutely. And what's interesting is 29 years prior to that, the budget had not been balanced.
So this act, it mandates that Congress balance the budget, but you're telling me Congress doesn't obey the law?
No. Democrats or Republicans, either side.
So again, we're living in a lawless community, a lawless nation. The judges, the politicians, the courts, the DAs, the IRS, the Department of Defense, the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, they only follow the rules they want to follow. The rules don't apply to them. We're living in a master morality, slave morality country where the masters do whatever they want, and then us slaves, you spit on the sidewalk, you're going to jail.
Well, the beginnings of it was when they went off the gold standard in 71. Prior to that, they balanced the budget. But going off the gold standard in 71 was the beginning of the, let's call it, unlimited checkbook, because right now the Democrats' economic policy is you need money, write a check. That's how.
Wow. All right, let's go to the video that Wes provided for us. Here we go. Oh, well, that's a great video. Here we go. Let's try it. Nope. I don't think it's going to work, Wes. I think you sent me a video that, well, maybe if I keep it small on this. Here we go. Let's try it now. Any audio with it? Any audio with that, Logan?
Yeah, there should be.
I'm not hearing anything. Unplug my computer and plug it back in. All right.
Uh-oh.
Technical issues. Live on TV.
Live TV.
Yeah, live right here.
They actually gave refund checks to American citizens of excess money in that time.
They had a surplus of $70 billion.
Wow.
They paid out to American people. I got a check for $700 back from the government.
Seriously?
Yep. People were refunded money. And that's why you see Newt Gingrich in the picture. There was a very strong bipartisan issue. And all those people should be proud of themselves. Biden and, excuse me, not Biden, Trump, the guys at that point of time, which would have been Clinton and Newt Gingrich, got together and just did good things. And you got a check back of $700, and every American citizen. It was crazy.
I think I remember that now that you mention it. It's been so long.
I got your check, Brannon. I cashed it.
Logan's actually had to come in the studio to try to repair this system and program. He's going to try something new here to see if we can get it to working. You want me to throw it across the studio? That fixed it last week. In the meantime,
but yeah, it's while he's working on that, Brannon. Again, it's both both administrations, Democrat and Republican, just their lawless, out of control spending. And what's interesting is you look at all those years that we went with next to zero interest rates. why didn't the folks in Washington seriously attack our debt and try and get that debt paid down while interest rates were low? They did the opposite. They borrowed free money. They printed and just continued to spend. And now here we are with interest rates as high as they are. And what's going to really seriously affect the payout of what they call entitlements, all these programs we actually paid into, and they're giving us our money back that they have stolen. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to start talking about cutting back these entitlements and moving the goalposts further away on when you can retire and fully get your Social Security and all of those things because of the out of control debt. And they never have ever focused, other than when under Bill Clinton. And I think it took 4 years from him signing that bill for it to actually happen. And it happened right as George Bush came into office in 2001. But all that work was actually due to Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, like Michael said, working together, both parties working together for a common goal for the good of the people.
Yeah, well, that doesn't happen anymore.
There's another issue to it. George W. Bush, when he came into office, it's coming clear to us that he was more of a Democrat than he was a Republican always. He screwed up the economy royal. You can blame a lot of it on Obama, but to get to 2008, Biden, what our dear friend Mr. Bush took us there, and Biden now has carried it across the field, across the goal line. But what's really interesting during that period of time, not only did they run the debt up, but we got into the war, which initially in Afghanistan ended in a week and a half. And then we went into Iraq based on the fact of WMDs, which never were found. It was right after the supposed assassination attempt on his father, and we got into a war that absolutely gained us nothing. And American deaths, the rest of it was a lot. That's why Bush right now, who comes out against Trump, is not surprising, because I believe he's more of a Democrat than he ever was a Republican.
All right, Logan has that clip working. Let's roll it, Logan, please.
We come here today, Democrats and Republicans, Congress and President, Americans of goodwill from all points of view and all walks of life, to celebrate a true milestone for our nation. In a few moments, I will sign into law the first balanced budget in a generation. It reflects the most fundamental values that brought us together. It will spur growth and spread opportunity. Because we have acted, millions of children all across this country will be able to get medicine and have their sight and hearing tested and see dentists and doctors for the first time. Millions of young Americans will be able to go on to college. Millions of Americans not so young will be able to go back to school to get the education and training they need to succeed in life. Millions of families will have more to spend on their own children's needs and upbringing. This budget is an investment in their future and in America's. We can say with pride and certainty that those who saw the sun setting on America were wrong. The sun is rising on America again, and I thank you all.
All right, there you go.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's go to this next one. The coming U.S. budget disaster will impoverish Americans. Deficit spending is not a growth tool. It is the recipe for stagnation. The latest Congressional Budget Office and Economic Outlook estimates show the extent of the challenges of the United States fiscal nightmare. The CBO expects a deficit of $1.9 trillion in 2024, a year of alleged robust economic growth, and record tax receipts. They expect revenues to reach $4.9 trillion, or 17.1% of GDP in 2024, which will rise to 18% by 2027 and remain at that level until 2034. This report's main finding, though, is expecting no recession, rising tax revenues from 2024 to 2034. The budget deficit will explode from $1.9 trillion to $2.8 trillion by 2034. Estimates place the adjusted deficit at 6.9% of GDP by 2024, nearly twice the average of 3.7% over the previous 50 years. What is the problem when the CBO sees solid growth and rising revenues? Deficits are always a spending problem. By 2034, they expect outlays to soar from 6.8 trillion to 10.3 trillion, or 24.9% of GDP. Interestingly, one of the major reasons for the significant increase in outlays cited by the CBO is the soaring cost of debt. All right? So, why should Americans be worried about this reckless pace of borrowing? Because it will mean three things for them: higher taxes, weaker growth, and the declining purchasing power of their salary and savings. Go ahead, Michael.
And it's stagnation on steroids. You cannot, the amount of debt we have and the interest that's paid on this debt is astronomical. And based on so many other factors we've gone over in the last several weeks regarding the currency, our currency, the fact that we're no longer AAA rated, we're AA rated, the interest on that debt is huge. And that's why we just never get ahead. It's like the old story of people who have, pyramiding credit cards. After a while, you reach a peak, and we've reached that peak. And the people running this country right now don't even recognize it. If you look at Biden's plan, it's to not only not spend more, it's to spend significantly more, which even buries us further. So when people get thinking to themselves, well, maybe if Biden doesn't run, things will be okay. His policies are going to continue. He's not going to be gone. They can't just wipe him out. Everything he has, all of his policies, all of his plans will carry on no matter who's running for the Democrats. And they're horrid. I mean, they are just absolutely horrid. And the people who pay for it are not the big shots in Wall Street. I turn on the news again, 4 a.m. in the morning. Everything is wonderful. Next year is going to be boomtown. Seriously? How can it be boomtown when most of the stock market is supported by 7 or 8 stocks and the balance of them have been tremendously bad performers? So this type of a situation and this debt will not just bury us. And everybody says it'll be my grandchildren or my children. No, it's going to be us right now. In the next 5 years, your life is going to change dramatically. That's why we sit back and say, if we don't make a change right now, the people who live paycheck to paycheck no longer exist. They're just upside down totally. There'll be a whole new breed of people who live paycheck to paycheck and worse. And it'll be people that would never dream that would be happening to them.
So what's the solution, Michael?
Change of policy, change of government. You've got to bring in people that are willing to go.
Okay, let's say that doesn't happen. What can the people do personally?
First of all, try to balance their portfolio, picking up gold, not listening to the advisors who tell them gold's the Antichrist. Gold isn't the Antichrist. Gold is really a solution of creating a balanced portfolio. Wes and I don't recommend you go empty out every dime you have and put it in gold. But we also feel, and I say it to people without equivocation, if you do not have gold in your financial portfolio, you are committing financial suicide because you have nothing in there but paper. The government controls it. The banks control it. They will use it. You can't stop them. If you have gold that you physically control, you are empowered. So not a lot of gold can protect a lot of your estate. But for some reason, some people right now are telling us, oh, well, we can wait. It's no big deal. Well, trust me, the bullet's been fired. It just hasn't hit people, Brannon.
And of course, I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. But if you want to get that free packet of information on how to put gold in your IRA, there it is, 602-558-8585. Just text Wes and say, I want that free no obligation packet, and he'll send it on its way, 602-558-8585. I've been working with Swiss America now 16 years or so. Wes, most people have their money in their IRA. That's where most of the folks keep their money. It's in their house and IRA. Is that correct?
Correct. It's where people have done the majority of their savings is in these qualified retirement plans, whether they be 401ks or IRAs. 401ks are one of the most expensive places to invest your money because of all the internal operating costs and fees. You're very limited. Most 401ks have, maybe 10, 12 different investments to choose from. I would encourage anyone, especially if they have an old 401k sitting there dormant that they're not using, to contact us and find out more about rolling that 401k over into a precious metals IRA. And if you roll all the money over, that doesn't mean you have to put it all into physical gold and silver, like Michael said. You could put a portion of it into physical gold and silver, put a portion of it maybe in a FDIC insured CD instead of taking it out of the IRA. So you have some options. There are some companies that if you've been working at the company for a period of time, and especially if you're over 59 and a half, they will allow you to roll over your active 401k to an outside plan. A lot of the stipulation comes down to the age. Many companies tie those funds up and won't let you do anything while you're working there until age 59 and a half. We talk to people that have 3, 4, 5 different IRAs, and we can help them combine all of those IRAs into one precious metals IRA if they wanted to, choose to do so. So it's very straightforward, very easy process. Instead of owning paper investments that are tied to the dollar, you have physical gold and silver, like central banks are buying physical gold. And the reason why, when you have physical gold and silver, you're not tied to the dollar because every country in the world, every currency in the world recognizes its value. And by far, the number one question Michael and I received from people is, okay, Wes, I buy this gold and silver. How do I use it when I can't go to the grocery store and buy food? I can't go to the gas station and put fuel in my vehicle, which is true. And I don't think we're going to get into a barter situation in our lifetime. That would be total chaos, and you'll be defending everything you have. Again, our government's going to use a black swan event, this debt crisis, to try and transition to a digital currency. And they're going to make it seem like the greatest thing ever, try and make it very smooth and seamless. There'll be an exchange rate. We'll probably still use a debit card, a credit card. We'll write a check. But instead of the bank taking dollars from your account to pay an individual or a retailer, they're going to take these digital credits. So our clients will more than likely be converting their gold and silver on their terms as they need it to that new currency. And they're not exposed. They're not laying all of their wealth on the table all at once on the grid for our government to see. All other accounts, brokerage accounts, retirement accounts, bank accounts, they're all instantly converted and on the grid. Your gold and silver, you get to convert it as you need it. And we could probably do that 3 or 4 months worth at a time. We get into that third month, we sell a little bit more. You let us know what day you want that new currency, those new funds to hit your checking account. And like clockwork, that money will be deposited into your bank account. So again, I would just encourage anyone that has money sitting in retirement accounts to, at the very least, look into it, do some homework. And if it makes sense, but you have questions, Michael and I would be happy to speak with you. No pressure, just answer questions. And if it makes sense, there's no doubt we could do a great job of helping. Our company's been doing this for 42 years. And if you decide it's not for you, we're going to shake your hand, say, hey, thanks. We appreciate it. If you ever change your mind, give us a call.
42 years, whereas a lot of these companies you see on TV and whatnot haven't been around 42 months. So just remember that, folks.
There's a big point, and I want to throw in with Wes there just to finalize this. Last week we showed people the craziness in 1929, and all the thousands of people that poured out in front of the stock exchange to see what's happening. And then in 2008, a lot of us who had brokers know what it was like trying to call in office. People piling, lines backed up. They can't get liquid. You can't get your broker. My question to all of you is, if you were properly advised, why did you have to get out in front of the Wall Street area? Why did you have to make all those phone calls? Why? If you were properly advised, if you were properly balanced. Because it's a situation of not forewarning you, because you're liable to pull out. You're liable to pull the cord away and put money in more secure areas. And I'm not just talking about gold. I'm talking there's other things that are secure that we talk about all the time. But I can tell you this, and we'll move on. We had people that were Worldview Weekend people, clients, and that just called us up. And not only clients, but just people, and said, I got to go back to work. My son's moving in the house with us. He just lost his job. It was a crazy time. Why did it have to be so crazy if everybody was forewarned properly? That's our job. So we're the bad news bears, because we're going to make sure that you have knowledge, not later, but before.
Yeah, that's why bad news can be good news. We say that often. Bad news can develop into good news because you were forewarned, right?
Correct.
Forewarned is foreknowledge.
Correct.
All All right, here's a headline. Bricks, JP Morgan predicts huge U.S. stock market crash. I'm thinking huge. What is that? Comes down to 20% downside could be on the cards. Well, that's not what I would really call huge. I mean, 20%, but particularly as high as it's gone up. But I don't know. That seems like a conservative number, 20%. What do you think, Wes?
Well, I don't want to lose 20% of my money.
Well, I know, but huge. I was thinking, haven't we read some reports stock market could go down 70%?
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, you know me, Brannon. I've never been one to give out dates and where's gold going to be. And
well, you and Michael actually went on one Friday night.
Right. Exactly. Funny, real funny. I'm like the flat line. I never get too high. I never get too low. And I like to. I've said this, thousands of times to our clients. I like to try and under promise and over deliver. Like you said, yeah, there are people out there saying 70%. JP Morgan, they're big Wall Street. They're Wall Street cheerleaders. They want people in the market buying stocks and bonds and mutual funds. So for someone that's behind the market to say it's going to go down 20%, you have to keep that in mind. That's a pretty big number for them to come out and say.
It is for them, but I think it's bigger than 20%, in my opinion.
Correct. Absolutely. I believe it's bigger than 20% as well. Definitely. So,
Michael?
But when you have people like JP Morgan, putting up the alarm, again, it's even, to me, it's, to even see them saying something like this is kind of extreme.
And why would they do that, Michael? Why would they give you a warning? Do they want you selling? Do they want you calling up JP Morgan and selling? Why?
Certain companies like JP Morgan are being very honest because they see something worse. If they give you some warning, at least they can say that they did that. And JP Morgan's also a bank, so they can tell you to put your money into cash or put it into to a money market account. The issue that happens, and I had a seat on the Chicago Merc and Chicago Board of Trade for years. You got to understand, I've said it many, many times, these people make money in New York when it goes up or when it goes down because they bet on it going down. So when it starts collapsing to 20%, it could go down to 40% just by the people saying, hey, there's a chance to make more money, or let's push it down more. Because they make money, win or lose. We don't. They do. About 20% is concern because they don't want to create chaos, but they do want to create concern. And when the chaos happens, it'll be different.
Let's go to this next headline.
And with today's, real quick, Brannon, with today's technology, I've said it before, but with today's technology, with as far as bank runs, if people get behind, they start promoting online and all the social media platforms that XYZ bank is in trouble, and that starts growing like wildfire. Do you remember a few years ago that trading platform Robinhood, what they did with AMC and GameStop? And that was all just by everyone out there talking about, hey, if we, this big hedge fund has a short position on GameStop and AMC. If we all start buying and we get everyone we know to start buying this stock, we can short squeeze this hedge fund. And that's exactly what they did. All through manipulation and gaining traction on social media, they bankrupt that hedge fund. So that's what people have to keep in mind. We're living in a period of time where when something starts to happen, it's going to happen very, very quickly.
Let's go to this headline. U.S. banks dubbing exposure to, figure out the number, 2.5 trillion market before inevitable losses hammer balance sheets. Tell me about this one. Who wants to take this?
Well, this is about Goldman Sachs, Citigroup. Both of them combined just sold $1.7 billion in loans, commercial loans, specifically buildings in New York, San Francisco, and Boston. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to get out from underneath. They know what's coming, a flood of foreclosures, of people walking away.
Who would want it? Who's buying these buildings? If they want to dump them, who's buying them?
Maybe investors that can get them for, a significant
pennies on the dollar.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, there's people that look at it, and if they can buy it for 50 cents on the dollar, they can sit back and gain something on it and hope that it's going to come back. It's a very risky market right now, but things tend to turn if they're going to buy it at a very good point. I was just watching with my wife last night. We watched this show about a real estate agent in New York. And one of the gals that works for this gentleman was showing a commercial building, and
the gentleman ended up buying it for $5.7 million. And she said 4 years ago, he couldn't have touched that building for $10 million.
I can share a story. My partners and I own my own company for 20-some years. We bought an apartment complex in 1979. The reason the guy sold it to us for about 60% less is he had a debt to the bank. And if he didn't pay that debt, they'd foreclose on him, not just the building, but it's a personal note. So it gets pretty deep, and they got to get out of it. The other thing with that $2.5 trillion that they're talking about, the biggest risk that we've never talked about, and in one show I'm going to pull some stuff out, we're going to talk about it, is most of these banks around the world are into derivatives.
Oh yeah, derivatives. That's a weapon of mass destruction.
Could destroy.
All right, we're out of
economy.
time. That's a weapon of mass destruction, without a doubt. Get your free packet, 602-558-8585. Wes Peters, Michael Weiner, thanks. Take care.